Hello and welcome to the Society of Professional Journalists Sigma Delta Chi Awards. I'm SPJ National President Ashanti Blaze Hopkins, and it's a thrill to be here to help celebrate outstanding work in so many forms from such a wide variety of media markets, both large and small. As someone who has been on these judging panels before, I can tell you that judging these awards is not an easy task. Teams of professional journalists agonize over these choices, which is a testament to the sheer volume and outstanding work being done. You'll be hearing all of the awards results in just a few moments. Each year, SPJ staff, working with the SPJ Awards Committee, explore ways that these awards can reflect the vast changes in our industry while not straying from its true purpose to recognize and celebrate journalism's accomplishments. Recently added categories include regional political reporting, tech reporting, and obituaries. We have also introduced categories for work originally published or broadcast in Spanish and expanded the investigative and podcast categories. Tonight, we'll recognize the hard work of this year's SDX Award winners, along with some of the top winners from the Mark of Excellence Awards, our competition for collegiate journalists. Each one of these winners is an example of what top-notch journalism looks like, whether it's print, broadcast, or visual journalism. These winning entries are what journalism is all about. We're proud to recognize the achievements of journalists and best practices of media organizations through the SDX and MOE Awards programs. Ethical journalism is essential for an informed society, from reporting at a school board meeting to exposing government corruption to covering your favorite sports team. You know what is happening in the world because journalists are there, bringing you the important news of the day. These award winners are just a few of the hardworking, dedicated journalists who bring that information to you every single day. I'll turn it over now to our readers, Jasmine Sohal and Paul Hansen, who will also share comments that come directly from the judges. For some categories, we will also show a portion of the award-winning entry, but they can all be read, heard, and viewed online at spj.org. Now, on to the awards. First up, awards that were open to all media formats, including print, online, audio, and video.
In the category of arts, entertainment, fashion journalism, the winner is The Heritage War from Bill Whitaker, Heather Abbott, Lecrae Mitchell, and Craig Crawford of CBS News 60 Minutes. The judges called it a powerful look at the impact of the Russian-Ukraine war on museums. The broadcast shows the brazenness of a modern war in which atrocities are committed in the open, with seemingly no fear of repercussions. Chilling.
So, Ihor, what happened here?
Liberation of Ukraine by Russian occupation forces, you see. What this liberation means.
Why would they target a church?
In this small village, this was the main place, and it was targeted just to destroy what keeps the whole village, the whole community together.
Ihor Poshevelo is director of the Contemporary Maidan Museum in Kyiv. He'd brought us to see the carcass of the Church of the Nativity on Ukraine's heritage list. Poshevelo told us the Russians had deliberately shelled it when they retreated last year. There was no fighting nearby. Built in 1862, the church had survived 2 world wars, communism, and a revolution. But not this.
For business finance reporting, the SDX Award goes to Denied by AI, Consequences for Vulnerable Americans from Casey Ross and Bob Herman of STAT. Judges said the piece was an unflinching, unsettling look at how health insurers used an unregulated computer algorithm to override clinicians and deny care to seriously ill patients. In consumer retail reporting, the SDX Award goes to the Bloomberg Staff for Bad Medicine. Judges called it a very readable, comprehensive, and chilling series that looks at failures both internationally and domestically for both cheap prescription drugs and over-the-counter medications. For fact-checking, the winner is Robert Farley of factcheck.org for fact-checking claims about the House impeachment inquiry of President Joe Biden. Judges called it a fine, resonant job of fact-checking and reality-checking the Biden impeachment inquiry. In the recently added category of cultural criticism, the winner is Melanie McFarland of Salon for late-night comedy columns. Judges said it is a compelling, historical look into the challenges of women in late night and a great blend of scholarship and commentary. For food restaurant journalism, the winners are Seth Doan, Sari Aviv, Ed Givnish, and Rand Morrison of CBS News' CBS Sunday Morning for Bittersweet, which used excellent reporting and superlative storytelling to reveal the story of cocoa and the people trying to bring awareness and more of the profit to those farmers producing it, judges said.
Chocolate.
When we think of chocolate, we think, Switzerland, Belgium, or France, but never Ghana, never Cote d'Ivoire, and those are the two largest producers of cocoa in the world. So how is it that we're not known for our chocolate?
She's trying to change that with 15 employees working from this modest space in the African nation of Ghana.
What was this building before it was a chocolate factory?
It was actually my parents' first house.
Kim and her sister Priscilla, Ghanaians who grew up in America and around the world, are part of a growing effort to keep some of the profits from the $100 billion chocolate industry here. They started their own company, 57 Chocolate.
57 Chocolate, it's short for 1957, which was Ghana's independence. But it's not just about Ghana being free from colonial rule. It's more about the spirit behind Ghana's independence. Hey, as Ghanaians, as Africans, we can do this.
For obituaries, the SDX award goes to Kane Fariba of Voice of America for The First Lady I Knew, Rosalind Carter. Judges called it an unusually insightful, powerful, and tender series and a fitting farewell to the First Lady of American mental health.
As the hearse carrying her coffin traveled through the town she called home for nearly a century, the realization Plains lost an icon and the world lost a great advocate for numerous important causes is compounded by the sadness my family and I feel over the loss of a friend. But Rosalind Carter's life and legacy lives on in a healthier world she dedicated her life to improving. It also lives on in the cherished memories of the times she spent with me and my family, especially that afternoon fly fishing at the pond in front of her home, where she shared her joy of a pastime in a place she loved, and near where she is now laid to rest.
In another recently added category, regional political reporting, the winner is Sharon Coolidge of the Cincinnati Enquirer for Secrets of the Cincinnati Railroad Deal. Judges said Coolidge's project on the sale of the nation's last city-owned railroad reminds us how essential local journalism is to democracy, not only breaking the story, but staying on it and supplementing interviews with excellent investigative reporting that unearthed documents exposing corruption. For Spanish-language feature reporting, for stories originally reported in Spanish, the winners are Ana Elena Asburua, Patricia Clerembaugh, and Javier Figueroa of Univision News Digital for Cuando los libros desaparecen. Judges called it an excellent piece of multimedia reporting that explores the controversial banning of books in U.S. public schools. Powered by data and facts, it provides context while presenting diverse perspectives. For Spanish-language investigative reporting, the staff of Noticias Telemundo wins for Camioneres, el negocio mortal de los trenes con migrantes, which doesn't just expose the cruel business of human smuggling in South Texas, it also reports on the challenges for those trying to put a dent in the profitable business, judges said. For Spanish-language news reporting, the winners are Ronnie Rojas, Damia Bonmati, Bruno Garcia, and Ulemar Núñez of Noticias Telemundo for Hayan muerto a una soldado latina en Fort Hood que dijo a su madre que la ascoban. An initial exclusive story on the death of a Latina female soldier at Fort Hood led the team to put the national spotlight back on the Texas base's handling of sexual harassment claims, with additional articles suggesting that the Army may have much left to do to improve how it handles those complaints. In the tech reporting category, Erica Hellerstein of Coda Story wins for Silicon Savannah, the workers taking on Africa's digital sweatshops. Judges called it a masterful telling of how low-paid workers suffer emotional and psychological damage from their screening of online content that doesn't meet terms of service. Stunning. The SDX Award for Collaborative Journalism celebrates work by two or more unrelated organizations, where one is a college, university, or other academic program. This year, the award goes to John Diedrich, Andrew Hahn, Ben Schultz, and Alex Rivera Grant of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and Marquette University's O'Brien Fellowship in Public Services Journalism for Behind the Gun. Over the course of a year, these journalists spoke with gun owners, researchers, and lawmakers and conducted extensive research. Proof, said a judge, that data matters. And in travel journalism, the winners are Kate Taylor and Brittany Chang for Load of Ship, which judges called a fascinating, detailed investigation into a fake cruise line bilking potential clients with bogus dreams of an eternal nautical vacation. Well written and immaculately researched.
And now, the SDX Award winners for television and audio work. For television feature reporting 1 to 50 market, the winners are Mike Bush and Tom Stasnik of KSDK TV in St. Louis for Making a Difference. The transformative power of kindness and understanding may not be the hottest topic in journalism in our community, judges said. But when reporters do such a good job of shining a light on those who embody such traits, it can be, and is in this case, both uplifting and award-worthy.
Here you go, sir. Is there anything else I can get for you?
They're always happy. I don't know if I've ever walked in here and seen somebody in a bad mood.
Hello.
Common Grounds opened in 2019.
We have these, and we also have our holiday flavors.
With the specific intention of hiring workers with special needs.
Did you guys enjoy your food today?
Oh, yes.
They learn how to run the cash register. They learn the difference between the muffins and the scones. They know how to run the Frankie machine, which makes our drinks.
Hi. How are you? Good, how are you?
24-year-old Sam Stiegel has been working here since day one.
What do you like about this job?
Everything. I love my job.
And that seems to be a theme. No complaints about the daily grind.
Very lively, upbeat, they come to work and, everybody wants to do the best that they can with what they have.
For television feature reporting, 50-plus market, the winner is This is Iowa from Eric Hansen and Courtney Kintzer of KCCI TV in Des Moines. Judges said this could have been just another feel-good package, but the execution, follow-through, and thoroughness made it far more memorable. Miking and following one of the participating kids during the Iowa State's Victory Day was an inspired game day decision.
Every time cameras rolled, as parents soaked up the love being shown to their superstars. Hollis made friends with the cheerleaders until Coach Campbell called him.
All right, Hollis, you want to run or you want to run it? Okay. Yeah, let's go. Oh, you ready to go? All right. Hey.
Rattled off his play.
Dixie right, strawberry sundae left, on one, ready?
And let the magic unfold again. Wearing a boot over his broken foot, the Johnston kid who'd been waiting for what felt like an eternity for his shot sprinted right and found himself in the corner of the end zone, spiking the ball, surrounded with the joy all of those other kids had experienced.
For television breaking news coverage, all markets, the winner is the staff of WVUE-TV New Orleans for Marathon Petroleum Fire. Judges remarked that WVUE had strong on-the-scene coverage with striking visuals, yes, but the outstanding aspect is the pursuit of why officials did not alert some people and were unresponsive to inquiries.
Liz Wilma-Subra is a chemist, a MacArthur Fellow, and an environmental activist who has studied air quality concerns near this plant. She has a unique perspective of what's happening at the plant now and the response by the plant and parish following the initial fire. She contends that while Marathon Petroleum and parish president Jacqueline Hotard claim the impacts are contained to the plant itself, the biggest impacts to people in the area are in the smoke that is far from contained and clearly continues to billow out over the river parish communities. She says the chemicals can cause acute and immediate reactions to people who inhale the toxins within the smoke, and says even sheltering in place likely is not sufficient to protect from those impacts.
For radio breaking news reporting, all markets or network syndication, the winner is the CBS News radio staff for Israel Attacked. Using natural sound and approaching from multiple angles in challenging circumstances, judges wrote, here's an outstanding example of a major news operation deploying its resources to deliver comprehensive coverage.
Sarah Davies of the International Committee of the Red Cross says Israel is paralyzed.
In both Israel and Gaza, fear and anxiety are quite overwhelmingly present. No one knows what's going to happen next. People are looking for the nearest shelter. They're desperately trying to contact family members. Schools have been shut. Roads have been closed in some places, which impacts ambulances.
In Jerusalem, veteran CBS News correspondent Robert Berger says Hamas fired thousands of rockets at Israel and stormed border towns.
We're going to see a major conflict because this is the most daring, deadly attack Hamas has carried out inside Israel, bringing in gunmen across the border, taking hostages, killing civilians in their communities.
In radio feature reporting, all regional markets, the winner is Philip Martin of WGBH Public Radio in Boston for Coretta Scott, the Other King of Boston. Judges called the feature an excellent look at a neglected piece of history with strong enterprise work tracking down multiple sources and supplying that sound in a story that does not obviously lend itself to it.
In the fall of 1963, Coretta Scott King sang A Balm in Gilead at the funeral of 4 black little girls murdered in the terrorist bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham. Conservatory President Andrea Kalin says the school is forever grateful to Coretta Scott, who she says was great before she was king.
Coretta, as an alum, took her music and created change for the world. She had an incredible impact. She used her voice, quite literally.
For radio sports reporting, the winner is Hannah Haberman of Wyoming Public Media, for an all-women's climb of the Grand Teton celebrates the first female ascent of the peak 100 years ago. Judges said the report had compelling sound, excellent storytelling. The reporter did a great job capturing the historic nature of this climb and what it means to the individuals who did it as they did it. You had to be there to get the story, and the journalist did just that.
Dawn has this motto that once a year we should do something that gets our hearts pumping a little hard and maybe scares us a little bit. So this is that adventure for this year.
Morgan McGloshin is one of the guides teaching the training and is no stranger to breaking glass ceilings in the mountains. When she was 19, she became the youngest woman to ski the Grand Teton and says going into the mountains with a group of all women is something special.
It's very exciting and fun and powerful and important and sparkly and beautiful.
This year, the SDX Awards had 3 podcast categories. For Investigative Podcast Episode, the winners are Dan Slepian and Preeti Varathan of NBC News for Letters from Sing Sing, featuring exacting journalism, deft storytelling, and peerless audio production. From taking a chance on a prisoner's plea for justice to meticulously researching, narrating, and humanizing his subject, Slepian's investigation led to several exonerations and a White House apology.
JJ's files sat in a brown cardboard box on the floor of my office, and I remember sitting at my desk, staring at that box, wondering, how am I going to find the time to read all of this? But JJ's letters kept coming, and I just couldn't ignore them.
Dear Dan, I refuse to remain idle, waiting for a miracle to occur. I must continue to strive for justice.
I'd already visited JJ a handful of times. I didn't know if he was innocent or guilty, but if this story were to go anywhere, I'd need to get him on tape. So in the summer of 2007, almost 5 years after I got JJ's first letter, I got approval to bring my camera into the prison where he was serving 25 years to life.
For Conversational Podcast, the winners are Peter Bergen, Alison Craiglow, and Laura Tillman of Fresh Produce Media for In the Room with Peter Bergen. Judges said, looking at news through a national security lens, the amazing sound design, structured interviews, and consistent narrative voice of this two-part episode on the anniversary of the U.S. pullout from Afghanistan knocked it out of the park.
Curtis said one of the U.S. military officials rolled a whiteboard into the room with information about U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Just consider how bizarre that was. During nearly 2 decades of war, giving the Taliban any information about American troop positions would have been unthinkable.
And one of the Taliban leaders joked, "Oh, look, they're bringing out the crown jewels before we've even gotten started." So it was this kind of feeling in the room that, the U.S. was really desperate to withdraw, and the Taliban were sitting back, taking this in.
For Narrative Podcast or Radio Documentary, the winners are Garrett M. Graff and the staffs of Long Lead and Campside Media for Long Shadow, Rise of the American Far Right. Judges said this piece does what podcasts are uniquely situated to do, allows the creators to take a long look at events and pick out pathways and threads that may otherwise be lost in the moment, but with the perspective of time, glow brightly when studied.
The 2014 killings of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and Eric Garner in New York touched off massive protests and civil unrest.
This is video from the night of gunfire, arson, and looting that exploded on the streets of the St. Louis suburb.
In the face of the riots, there was a growing sense on the far right that something had to be done.
In Ferguson, Missouri, one armed group known as the Oath Keepers has appeared on rooftop patrols, armed, to try to protect private property.
The militia group the Oath Keepers, fresh off that standoff at the Bundy Ranch, showed up in Ferguson. The sudden, alarming images of white men standing by the protests with assault rifles spread across the world. And not long after, Oath Keepers member John Kerriman was praised in a segment on Fox News.
Well, why'd you do it?
That's what we do. While others run from danger, we run into it. That's how we're wired.
For public service in radio journalism, all market or network syndication, the SDX Award goes to the uncuffed staff at KALW-FM San Francisco for Pickleball. Can a game change prison culture? As one of the voices notes, this is deeper than pickleball. A thought-provoking piece that highlights society's challenges with incarceration and, on a deeper level, humanity.
I think that's really what set the tone for other custody personnel to come over and play as well. They actually had correctional officers out there that day in full uniform who took to the court, and one of them was Officer Fink Bonner.
Been here for roughly 9 years. It was pretty cool to be able to see, everyone out there on the yard enjoying it. It was a beautiful day for it, and being able to have custody staff and, non-custody there, and, learning the game and being able to enjoy it together. So when I seen the warden lay out with the toothpick still in his mouth, lay out for the ball, I was like, oh man, this dude is serious about his pickleball game. And ever since then, it kind of just eased the nerves. And, of course, like I said, the last thing in the back of my mind was, dude, if I lose to one of these inmates, I got to hear it for the next 20 years until I can retire. So,
for public service in television journalism, network or syndicated, the winners are Josie Stearman, Scotty Smith, Topher Sanders, and Jamie Gray of Investigate TV for Railroad, a compelling report about how blocked train crossings threaten communities. What seems at first like merely an annoyance is shown to delay first responders and force children to climb under and over trains just to get to school.
There's no commotion, no cry for help when an elementary school student crawls between the tracks. It's quiet as she dusts herself off, casually picks up her book bag and a dropped water bottle, and carries on.
Her book bag could have got caught, her jacket could have got caught, the train could have started moving while she caught.
Moments like this still shock Akeisha Henderson, who moved here nearly 3 years ago.
You better start moving, that thing's gonna move any second now.
A few months ago, she started recording them, posting on social media, showing the world what normal looks like in a city where trains may block the street for hours at a time.
There's no end this way that we can cross over. It's too far down.
Leaving kids with no choice but to take their chances, tangling with the steel beast that often stands in their way to school.
I know they're used to it. I can tell. Because it's like they didn't hesitate to do it. They didn't pause and think. They're just like, okay, we're just going over. Like, it was nothing to them.
For television sports reporting, the winners are Mike Bush, Scott Sapelsa, Adam Dew, and Tom Stasiak of KSDK-TV St. Louis for Newsiel Award Stories. Judges praised the package for top-notch storytelling and visual execution that transcend the category.
Danny Mulvihill was determined to be a gracious host, bringing out a couple of foals as Cody made his arrival.
This foal is seeing a wheelchair for the first time. These are babies, so everything they see, you don't know how they're going to react.
But when Danny brought out one particular young horse, it was, in a word, magic.
So we led the foal up. Once he stopped and had a few seconds there to figure out what was everything, he kept pulling forward until his head was right there in Cody's lap. And they just hung out and spent some time there together.
He wasn't scared of Cody.
So it was magical when it happened. I think you probably could have heard a pin drop.
In television investigative reporting, 50-plus market, the winners are Lee Zurich, John Turnipseed, and Dana Sauer of WVUE-TV New Orleans for Outside the Office. The team spent months reviewing more than 1,000 hours of public security camera video and analyzed thousands of pages of public records, discovering potential payoff fraud and potentially improper relationship that broke city policies. It led to 3 separate investigations by the New Orleans Police Department, New Orleans Inspector General, and the FBI. The word doggedness isn't used often, but it's certainly appropriate here with an investigative execution and commitment that should be an example in any sized market.
Tuesday, August 9th of last year, Vappy arrived at the Upper Pantaba apartment just before 8 a.m. He wasn't listed as her security duty that day, but when the mayor arrived less than an hour later, they both stayed there most of the workday. The mayor had nothing scheduled on her calendar that morning, but did have 5 meetings that day, the first at 12:30, a regional planning commission meeting. 20 minutes after that meeting started, Cantrell sent an email saying she wouldn't be making it. She also had a 2 p.m. meeting scheduled with the head of the RTA, Alex Wiggins. At 12:53, she sent her scheduler an email, the subject line, phone disabled. The message asked her to reschedule that RTA meeting and said she would be in at 3:30 because she had to deal with a personal matter. Vappy left the Upper Pantaba at 3:09, the mayor at 3:39 p.m. From 8:42 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, the mayor and Vappy were inside the Pantaba. City records show the mayor did not make one work phone call and only sent 3 emails, the 2 we told you about, and another at 12:31 about some streetlights not working.
For television feature reporting, network or syndicated, the winner is the staff of ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis for The Queen of Tequila, in which a team of female producers and Mexican-American female correspondents traveled to Jalisco, Mexico to get the story behind La Hacienda de Mexico and owner Meli Barajes, who created her brand from scratch.
Little by little, Meli created one of the purest blue agave tequilas Mexico has ever seen. The magic and the motivation to keep going coming from the most unexpected place.
Realmente, cuando abrí las puertas para hacer entrevistas, llegaron puras mujeres. Tengo mamás solteras, tengo mujeres que quieren salir del pueblo, que quieren ser diferentes. A mí me motivan ellas, viendo la motivación que ellas tienen para seguir adelante, para sobrevivir.
A demanding job in an industry still ruled by men. What happened inside this factory is beyond unique. Meli became the so-called Reina de Tequila, Queen of Tequila, an army of warriors by her side helping create Leyenda de México.
For network or syndicated television documentaries, the winners are Diane Sawyer, Rachel Scott, and the staff of Impact by Nightline for On the Brink, which judges called compelling, heartbreaking stories of 18 women who desperately sought the health care they needed to stay alive and hopefully preserve their ability to have children, amid strictly enforced state abortion laws that didn't consider their specific medical issues. The report makes clear the emotional torture inflicted on the women because of medical policies written by politicians instead of medical professionals.
It's not the humane choice to give birth to a non-viable fetus in my situation personally. She has no lungs. If I give birth to her, she's going to suffocate and die slowly. That's not love.
So she searched for an out-of-state clinic, but Kentucky has a ban. Missouri has a ban. So does Arkansas. Finally, she found a clinic 900 miles away in New York. But by the time she arrived at the clinic, the situation was at the 11th hour. Her baby had died inside her. Doctors raced her into the operating room.
So they felt they had only 1 hour.
The doctor told me that because we don't know when my daughter passed, there's about a 2-week window when you carry a deceased fetus, when your body doesn't recognize it, that you are at risk for blood clots, infections, or going septic. And so he's like, since it's been a week and 3 days, you're very close to that window, we need to do this now.
Do you ever think what would have happened if you waited?
Every single day. Every single day.
For national or syndicated radio feature reporting, the SDX award goes to Lauren Freyer and Fatima Al-Kassab for NPR's coverage of a proposed UK government plan to deport undocumented migrants to Rwanda. Judges said the reporting was incredibly newsworthy, comprehensive, and most importantly, showcasing persistence and a complexity of reporting that few radio stories do, including getting an exclusive interview with one of the 7 undocumented migrants who was almost deported.
My legs were trembling. I never thought I'd see my family again, he says, adding that he felt treated like a criminal. His lawyer, Kes Siddiqui, says his client faced persecution in Iran and has family in the UK. His sister lives here. He would not be a drain on society, he says. But because of the way he came to the UK in a boat without a visa, officials won't even hear his asylum plea. This policy, Siddiqui says,
it just strips every right that an asylum seeker has in the UK. It's an international right of every human being that they can claim asylum. It's not illegal, and the UK essentially wants to prevent individuals from doing that.
For radio investigative reporting in all markets or network syndication, the winner is Grace Madigan of KNKX Public Radio in Tacoma, Washington, for Part of the Pipeline. Judges said it was a very thorough investigation into the abuse of young soccer players. 2 of the coaches mentioned were later suspended because of what was exposed by this fine report.
I was aiming to go D1, and so I just needed to be at the best club and the best team.
Morris was spending 6 days a week at a soccer field and countless hours traveling to practices and games. Billy Wiskel was their coach for the 2 years they were at the club. Morris says Wiskel's criticisms about their body and their play were constant and harsh. They say it made them feel so bad they considered leaving the sport.
I developed an eating disorder during that time. I had such a negative self-image. You learn who you are through your sport if you're playing at that level. And the things that Billy was teaching me was to hate myself, was to hate others.
For television investigative reporting 1 to 50 market, the winners are Dave Biscobing and ABC 15 staff in Phoenix for Too Unwell to Testify. Judges said the piece was a fantastic example of following through on a story, peeling back the curtain, and going layer by layer through what appears to be a lackluster attempt of a cover-up by multiple agencies.
Did a top Phoenix police detective mishandle evidence in a large number of murder cases?
How many? 37 active criminal court cases and 61 total police investigations. Records show DePonzio failed to impound and document at least 55 audio interviews.
I mean, this isn't just a one case, one time kind of thing. I mean, we're talking about 55 interviews, at least that they know of. Does that surprise you that so many could have, not been properly documented?
Yeah, what that tells me is number one, there's no supervision. And number two, the DA should have been on top of that.
At first, Phoenix police and county prosecutors told the court there were only 24 pages of information to turn over about DePonzio's problems. It turns out there was a lot more.
These new records and recordings show Phoenix PD lost control of a detective. And what may be more concerning is how long officials kept it all to themselves.
Cover-up by the Phoenix Police Department.
As the scandal intensified, officials were forced to admit there was a lot more to release. It's grown from 24 to 14,000 pages of internal affair files.
For television investigative reporting, network or syndicated, the winner is staff of ABC News Live for Trashed: The Secret Life of Plastic Recycling, which judges called a far-reaching, creative, big-picture investigation that wakes up audiences to something it was easy to believe was being well handled.
We wanted to see how that vision is working. So ABC News, along with 9 of our affiliates and owned stations across the country, assembled bundles of recyclable plastic bags, each of them containing a metal tracking device superglued inside, then wrapped in several layers of plastic bags.
All right, we glued it down. It's nice and secure.
I got 4.
Our teams fanned out across 10 states, dropping them off at Walmart and Target stores, 2 of the country's biggest retailers, with hundreds of stores with bins labeled for plastic bag recycling.
I'm outside of a Walmart in West Hills, California.
This is the Northside Walmart here in Austin.
And I am in San Antonio, Texas. I'm going to drop these plastic bags.
Okay, here's one of the drop-offs.
After the drop-offs, we spent months monitoring each tracker's location multiple times a day.
Here's where one of those AirTag bags ended up.
The tracker is pinging whenever a mobile phone or a digital device was near.
For network or syndicated television breaking news coverage, the winner is Saturday Today staff at NBC News for Attack on Israel, October 7th, 2023. Judges said, excellent work here, including the only reporter on the ground at the time, good Q&A between the reporter and anchor desk, great photography, and cut-in of images and audio.
Guys, I wanted just to explain to you what the scene is where we are right now. We are on one of the major highways in southern Israel. You would expect this road to be full on a holiday weekend, and instead you can see behind me, this is an Israeli military checkpoint. Israeli forces here are searching all cars that are going past because they do not know at this point where these Palestinian gunmen are, and they are afraid these gunmen may try to be getting north towards Tel Aviv, towards Jerusalem. As we've been here, we have seen just a stream of Israeli special forces driving south towards the Gaza border, and they are heading to confront those gunmen in the towns and cities in the south.
For television documentaries, 1 to 50 market, the winners are Mislav Chernov and the teams at the Associated Press, Frontline, Long Lead, and Campsite Media for 20 days at Mariupol. Judges said, while this documentary graphically portrays the brutality of the Russian assault on Ukraine and the resilience of the people of Mariupol, at its heart is the courage of the journalists who risked their lives to tell this important story. Honest, horrifying, beautiful, and unrelenting.
Второй адреналин. Видите, заснимите, как эти не убивают местных жителей. Пожалуйста, покажите этому путинскому хуйлу вот эти глаза вот этого ребенка и плачущих врачей. Пидор гнойный. Как он спасает людей всех. Показывайте. Хорошо, что тут есть пресса. Снимайте.
For public service and television journalism, all markets, the SDX Award goes to Chris Vanderveen, Chris Hansen, Jenna Bourne, and Aaron Adelson of KUSA TV in Denver for Undetermined, the year Excited Delirium died. Judges said this in-depth investigation revealed that for decades, police across the country cited a bogus medical diagnosis to hide the true cause of hundreds of deaths of people in police custody. As a result of the station's reporting, coroners and law enforcement officers in Colorado can no longer cite it during death investigations, and the major medical organizations have discredited its use as a legitimate cause of death.
Southwest, Huron Parkway.
People like Alex Gutierrez.
Once the autopsy was performed, I identified his body to make sure, and I seen my father had a broken nose, and I could physically see the shoe imprint embedded in my father's cheek. So I knew there was more to the story than what was being said.
Clues ignored by the investigation, his daughter says. While the local district attorney blamed officers for blunders that fuel the public skepticism of law enforcement, he ultimately cleared all and cited excited delirium as a reason why in this letter to their bosses.
Those policemen need to be held accountable.
Nobody was held accountable.
No.
The case went away.
Yes.
The SDX Award in the category of Inequalities in Society, television or audio, goes to the staff of ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis for Shiloh, Our Inheritance is Washing Away. Judges said this story had a people-first approach and the level of sourcing was excellent. A well-balanced presentation with evidences backing up the inequalities and racial disparity.
We've been working closely with the data team at our ABC-owned television stations who found that the Williams family property, which includes this restaurant, should normally only have a 4% chance of flooding at least once a year.
Our home is going to be sunk because the waters from here is already sinking the house.
But Williams says that since the new highway, his home seems to flood practically every time it rains. And according to the weather data, the area has seen heavy rains more than 150 times since March of 2019.
Why is it hard for folks on the black side of the street?
Because we're losing, excuse me. Phew. We're losing everything. Phew. Every time I talk about it, we've taken our savings and to fix everything, and we don't have any more money.
For science, environmental, climate reporting in television or audio, the winner is April Dembosky of KQED Public Radio in San Francisco for proven schizophrenia treatments keep people in school at work. Why won't insurance cover them? Judges called it a great interview on a scary subject which had a strong state impact with health insurers.
The insurance restrictions create a perverse incentive for middle-income families who need help now. Some parents are so desperate to give their kids the best care, they actually drop them from their health plan and enroll them in Medi-Cal. Some county officials go further, using their own taxpayer dollars to pay for the services that private insurers refuse to cover. Bottom line, advocate David Lloyd says for-profit insurance companies are allowing the public to pay their bills.
That's not an appropriate role for taxpayers to be picking up that burden.
For crime reporting, television or audio, the winners are Dorothy Tucker, Elliot Ramos, Carol Thompson, and Tom Vist of WBBM TV in Chicago for investigating injustice, Black women at risk. Judges said it is an extremely well-done job of investigating and reporting on the victimization of Black women over more than 2 decades in Chicago.
I was angry. I was heartbroken.
It's very aggravating.
Rage keeps me up at night a lot.
How long have Black women been overrepresented? The CBS 2 investigators went searching for answers. We looked at every crime, every victim, not just 1 or 2 years, not 3 or 4. We went back 21 years. CBS 2 investigative data journalist Elliot Ramos crunched the numbers.
The stuff is buried in statistical reports that come out every year.
But it's here, the latest, pages 79 to 81.
You got batteries, you got robberies.
Ramos combined the crime data
by day of week, by location type,
with race, sex, and age from police reports.
It was surprising at how consistently Black women in particular were over-indexed in relation to the population, like year after year after year.
For the 3rd year, the Chronicle of Higher Education has added a pair of $5,000 prizes to what is now known as the Corbin Gwaltney Award for Best Student Newspaper. Named for the co-founder of the Chronicle of Higher Education and the founder of the Chronicle of Philanthropy, the prizes are awarded in the large and small school divisions. This year, the winner in the small school division is the staff of the Elon Pendulum at Elon University in North Carolina. The judges said, the Elon Pendulum does an excellent job with a strong local news section that includes government and enterprise efforts. The design team shows superb use of color and infographics. And the winner in the large school division is the staff of the Indiana Daily Student at Indiana University. Said a judge, the Indiana Daily Student reads like a professionally produced community newspaper, demonstrating admirable enterprise work that's relevant to the university and the community. The Little 500 Guide shows that its design team is capable of excellent creative work.
SPJ congratulates the winners and thanks the Chronicle of Higher Education for its support and encouragement of outstanding student journalism. Coming up later in this program, the student winner of the MOE Best in Show Award will be announced. But for now, back to the SDX Awards. The SDX Awards program appreciates not only written and verbal journalism, but visual journalism as well. Here are the winners in the art, graphics, and multimedia categories. For informational graphics and/or data visualization, the SDX Award goes to the New York Times staff for Noise Could Take Years Off Your Life. Here's how. Said the judges, the project is elegant in how it tells a disturbing story. Relevant facts come in at just the right moment, adding up to a powerful conclusion. For breaking news photography, the winner is J. Conrad Williams Jr. of Newsday. A widow's grief, judges said, is a sadly all too typical scene. The widow presented an American flag. It is different this time in so many ways. For feature photography, the winner is Scott Serio of Eclipse Sportwire for Wreaths Across America. Judges said, great feature photography should meld composition with concept. That certainly happens here. Technically excellent with the perfect angle. For sports photography, the winner is Jake May of the Flint Journal and MLLive.com in Michigan for The Finish Line. Judges said this is an example of sports photography at its best, bringing you into the moment. Many levels of emotion captured in one shot. For photo essay or slideshow, the winner is Laura Seitz of Deseret News in Salt Lake City for No One Dies Alone. Judges said these are striking photos that are both heart-wrenching and heartwarming. For digital video, winners are the staffs of the NBC News Investigative Unit and the NBC News Digital for Slaughterhouse Children, child labor exposed in America's food industry. Very often, the best stories are the hardest to film, judges said. That's certainly true here, yet clever approaches keep the story both moving and powerful.
You walk into the building, but the operation's enormous. And as we walked, I was just like, that's a kid. That's a kid. And so we would stop and talk to them briefly. We found a systemic failure on the company's part. There were over 102 children that we verified their age and their identities that were working the night shift. You know, as I'm pulling my children out of bed to go to school in the mornings, I'm thinking, you know, they have this comfortable bed, they had a good night of sleep, and they have to go to school. And how are these other children who've worked this, not just a regular job, but a taxing job all night, getting up and having the same expectations? Like, do they have the same chance that my kids have?
For the recently added category of illustration, winners are Susie Cagle, Jeff Hing, Katie Park, and the staff of the Marshall Project for In Harm's Way. Said judges, the long-form comic is both a powerful and simple way to tell a story that could have foundered in the details. For editorial cartooning, 50-plus market, the winner is freelancer Nancy Onion. No words and a highly stylized collage style makes these cartoons more disturbing than amusing, but no less engrossing and even more powerful than many in the traditional style, judges said. Perhaps the art form needs more unique approaches like this one. For editorial cartooning, 1 to 50 market, the winner is freelancer Rob Rogers, whose sharp-edged insight, drawn brilliantly, distills the topics of the day into one eyeful, judges said. For immersion journalism, the winners are Madeline Schwartz, Malika Kurana, Mika Grondal, and Yulia Parshinikotas of the New York Times for A Cathedral of Sound. Judges called it a compelling experience that takes you inside Notre Dame, elevated by using sound to draw you into an interesting, immersive experience you might not get otherwise. And now we'll take a brief break from SDX Awards to share SPJ's top Mark of Excellence Award winner for college journalism.
Back in May, we announced both the regional and national winners in the SPJ Mark of Excellence Awards for college student journalists. Out of those top winners, though, a Best of the Best award, the MOE, is selected. The judges, led by SPJ immediate past president Claire Regan, had a monumental task before them in selecting a winner. The 2023 MOE goes to the New York City News Service team at the Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at City University of New York for South Bronx Businesses Battle Back. The judges said, quote, this project harnesses the power of hyperlocal journalism. Kudos to the New York City News Service team for stepping off campus and immersing themselves in the South Bronx community with engaging stories of post-pandemic successes and struggles. The video vignettes profiling local shop and restaurant owners highlight the rich diversity of this corner of New York City. Each piece in the three-part series is strengthened with data, graphics, and embedded links that provide further context for the reader. Outstanding teamwork, impactful storytelling, end quote. Congratulations to these and all of the Mark of Excellence winners, both nationally and regionally. You give us hope for the future of journalism. And now, back to more SDX awards.
For print and online work, SPJ is proud to award the following SDX awards. In categories with multiple divisions, circulation is based on non-Sunday print circulation. In the category of inequalities in society, the winners are Janelle Retka, Samantha McCabe, Jiahui Wang, and Maria Inez Zamudio of the Center for Public Integrity for Toxic Labor, which connects the increasingly interlocking crisis of immigration, climate change, and declining labor protections with powerful first-hand accounts, public data, and compelling interactive data visualization. For feature reporting, under 40,000 circulation, the SDX award goes to Spencer Kent of NJ Advanced Media for The Stranger in the Mirror. Judges said the piece included superb storytelling framed by attention to detail and hard questions. For feature reporting, 40,000 plus circulation, the winner is Max Kim of the Los Angeles Times for 40 years he blamed himself for a girl's murder, then came a shocking discovery. The opening graphs read like a literary novel, all while conveying that this is a very real, personal story, judges said. The reporter does a great job of first setting the scene and then diving into the details and backstory necessary to understand this tragic event, all while making the story an engaging read. In general column writing, 40,000 plus, the winner is M.L. Elric of the Detroit Free Press. These columns are terrific, said a judge. Elric's rich wealth of experience and clear knowledge of all things Detroit comes across in each column. For general column writing, under 40,000, the winner is Bridget Grummet of the Austin American Statesman in Texas. Judges said Grumet's work is proof that the best columns are often reported columns, whether it's a couple scammed or historic art facing a bulldozer. In sports column writing, the winner is Steve Politi of NJ Advanced Media. The columns, whose subjects range from Aaron Rodgers' career-ending injury to woman in high school wrestling, were, according to judges, his powerful accounts that grabbed readers by the lapels. For editorial writing, the SDX award goes to Brandon McGinley of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, who, in using editorial as a way to break news, does a great job diving into hyperlocal issues, judges said. In the recently added category of cultural criticism, the winner is Melanie McFarland of Salon for late-night comedy columns. Judges said it is a compelling historical look into the challenges of women in late night and a great blend of scholarship and commentary. For magazine writing, the winners are Lucy Sexton and Joe Sexton for Held Together, which appeared in the Atavist magazine. A very creative and ultimately deeply moving story revisiting Joe Sexton's kidnapping in Libya and his daughter's helplessness and fear. For magazine investigative reporting, the winners are Lauren Kirchner, Margot Gilman, Joel Keane, and Scott Meadows of Consumer Reports for Hidden Dangers of Water Beads. Judges said, in exposing the unexpected danger of a seemingly charming children's toy, the piece featured strong, shoe-leather reporting supplemented by clear, pertinent, and persuasive writing. But what makes this package a tour de force is how the team integrated other forms of media into the reporting. For newspaper or online investigative reporting, 40,000 plus circulation, the winner is the staff of the Outlaw Ocean Project for China, the Superpower of Seafood. Judges called it a globe-spanning exposé that puts a spotlight directly on China for its forced labor and other human rights violations, including illegal fishing in other countries' waters and deployment of its seafood fleet for military spying and aggression. In the category of newspaper or online investigative reporting, under 40,000, the winners are Max Philby, Mike Wagner, and Jennifer Smola Schaefer of the Columbus Dispatch in Ohio for Preying on Patience, exploring the emotional and financial toll of months-long delays in issuance of death certificates. For science, environmental, climate reporting, the winner is the staff of the Los Angeles Times for Repowering the West. Judges especially appreciated the many voices heard, presented fairly and with respect in this exploration of the obstacles to renewable energy development across the American West, including opposition to solar farms and wind turbines from conservation activists and rural towns. For crime reporting, the winner is Andy Greenberg of Wired for The Mirai Confessions. 3 young hackers who built a web-killing monster finally tell their story. It's a deeply researched account of how a group of teen friends plunged into an underworld of cybercrime and broke the internet, then went to work for the FBI. In public service journalism, the winner is Hannah Dreier of the New York Times for Alone and Exploited, a series on immigrant child labor abuses. Said the judges, she authoritatively showed the numerous complicit stakeholders, including some in the federal government, involved in the abuses she chronicled. For foreign correspondence, the winner is the Bloomberg staff for Russia's Shadow Fleet. Judges said it was gripping, demonstrating impressive enterprise reporting of illegal oil transfers. The complexity of the research and reporting is unmatched. In the category of Washington correspondence, the award goes to Krista Case Bryant of the Christian Science Monitor. A judge said Case Bryant wrote eye-opening columns that explore the inside problems in government bureaucracy. For sports reporting, the SDX award goes to Jason Wolf of the Arizona Republic for Mismanagement of the Year. Judges said the piece was a well-investigated look into a subject not many people have given a second thought to, a sports foundation that spent far more money on salaries and benefits than on the charitable endeavors. For newsletter journalism, the winners are Annie Goss and Mike Aguia of the San Francisco Standard for Power Play, noted for its dense, link-heavy synopsis of current and relevant political stories, equipping readers with a top-level take on the news of the day and enough linked content to go deep when they want. For non-deadline reporting, 40,000 plus circulation, the winners are John Shoup, Mike Hicksonbaugh, and Rich Shapiro of NBC News Digital for Lost Rights. Strong characters and storytelling technique give life to the rigorous sourcing, documents, and in-depth reporting that gives the story weight and impact, judges said. For non-deadline reporting, under 40,000, the winners are Michael McGuff and Stephen Hobbs of the Sacramento Bee in California for The Final Fall, which explored the accountability issues surrounding the deaths of 28 skydivers at a single facility. And the SDX Award for Specialized Journalism site goes to the staff of STAT, which judges said aims its in-depth reporting and incisive commentary at a sophisticated audience, knowledgeable about science and medicine, while also being accessible to anyone interested in health and science.
As you have seen and heard, there's a lot of great work being done by journalists. On behalf of the Society of Professional Journalists and the many volunteer judges for the SDX and Mark of Excellence Awards programs, congratulations to every one of the winners, as well as so many others who made the judges' decisions so difficult. Thank you to the hundreds of journalists whose work was entered into this year's contest. We invite you all to enter again next year to have the great work you're doing in 2024 recognized. By entering these contests, joining SPJ as a member or supporter, or becoming a donor, you are supporting great ethical journalism and investing in journalism's future. These are all so important if journalism is going to thrive well into the future. I'm sure many of you will want to actually read, listen to, watch, or view some of this award-winning work which you can do by visiting spj.org. You'll find a full list of winners there, as well as links, paywalls permitting, for you to check out the winning work. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.